The world around us is slowly and constantly changing. We might never see the small differences happen, but many years later, changes will surely be visible. Over time, small changes add up, and soon the whole ecosystem is different. This slow change in land and habitat is called ecological succession. Animals, plants, and weather are some factors that cause this type of change in an ecosystem. Ecological succession begins with a pioneer community. In many cases, lichens are the pioneers. Lichens break down rocks, making soil so that plants can begin to grow. The process then continues on. Trees grow, decay, and then new trees grow back even bigger. Differences in the amount of sunlight, the amount of wind, and the type of soil all influence this changing community of organisms. The number and type of organisms change along with the habitat. Many years later, this ecosystem becomes relatively stable. This stable condition can last for hundreds of years and is called climax community. Sometimes nature's power causes changes more quickly, but not instantly. An example for this is repeated flooding. In some areas, floods happen more often. Each time new sediment is carried by the water and is deposited. Over time, marsh habitats become present, then grasslands, and then finally a forest. At other times, nature works backwards by tearing down a climax community with flood or fire. New kinds of organisms are able to move in and the process repeats itself. This type of major reorganization helps and encourages diversity in the ecosystem.
The next time you look outside, try to picture a changing world. What you see out there today might not be the same in 50 years. Animals will move according to the food supply. Plants will die if they don't get the right amount of sunlight and water. The ecosystem will adjust to the new situation.
Succession is the birth of an ecosystem and subsequent aging process of its biotic and abiotic features. The following three parameters are nowadays widely accepted in trying to define ecological succession. First, it is an orderly process of community development that involves changes in species, structure, and community processes with time. It is reasonably directional and therefore predictable. Second, it results from modification of the physical environment by the community. That is, succession is community controlled, even though the physical environment determines the pattern, the rate of change, and often sets limits as to how far development can go. Third, it culminates in a stabilized ecosystem, in which maximum biomass or high information content and symbiotic function between organisms is maintained per unit of available energy flow. In fact, ecological succession is a complex, dynamic interaction between the community inhabiting the ecosystem, the geological factors determining the patterns of materials transfer, the current state of the ecosystem as a whole, and time. Insofar as changes in the general state of the ecosystem are related to the community inhabiting it, and alteration of the community is a function of the evolution of the general state of the ecosystem, succession proceeds under feedback control. Ecologists generally recognize two kinds of succession: primary succession and secondary succession. Primary succession takes place on an area that is originally completely empty of life. As an example, an area that has been covered by a flow of lava has, for a time, no life added at all. Over a period of time, however, various kinds of organisms begin to grow in the area. Over time, the variety of life forms changes as succession continues. Secondary succession is by far more common. It occurs in an area where life once existed, but then has been destroyed. For example, imagine a forest that has been destroyed by wildfire. Again, for a period of time, no living organisms may exist in the area. Before long, however, certain types of plants begin to reappear. And as with the primary succession, the nature of the plant communities gradually change over time. The general trends that take place in primary succession are similar to those that happen in secondary succession. Imagine that the forest has been cleared for agriculture and then abandoned at a later date. In this case, a pioneer community consisting of lichens, mosses is not needed. Soil, rich or not, is already available. In such case, the first plants to reappear might be annual weeds, such as crabgrass. At a somewhat later date, the weedy community might be replaced by perennial weeds, and then by shrubs, a pine forest, and finally a mature forest consisting of oaks, maples, elms, and other large, long-living trees.